Finally tonight, it's no toy story, it's a toy fair. More than 1,600 toy vendors are gathered in New York City this week for the 93rd Annual American International Toy Fair. Aim of the fair is for toy sellers to convince toy buyers their product is the next best thing when it comes to toys. No surprises here. The classics continue to sell well. The big sellers, Raggedy Ann and Andy, superhero action figures and Legos. The newest one, the Jeff Ginola doll.
You gotta be kidding me.
See you tomorrow.
Big seller, big seller.
February 12th, 1996.
The victory is tremendous, friends, and we are going to win this Republican nomination.
The 1996 Iowa caucuses are now history, and Pat Buchanan has emerged with another strong showing, finishing second behind Senator Bob Dole.
We're going to make America a better place to live for our children and our grandchildren. That's what this race is all about. And when it's over, Bill Clinton will be out of work, and I'll be in the White House.
The other surprise of the evening, Lamar Alexander's third-place finish.
Thank you, Iowa. On to New Hampshire. Let the future begin.
Steve Forbes and Phil Graham finished a disappointing fourth and fifth.
18 weeks ago, I was only an asterisk. But in 18 weeks, we have made remarkable progress. We have reshaped political life in America. We are now setting the agenda for this campaign.
And I am very, very grateful for those who worked for me, for those who supported me, and I leave this state with a heart full of love for Iowa.
Tonight, a Nightline election special, the Iowa caucuses and the 96 vote.
This is an ABC News Nightline special. The 96 vote, the Iowa caucuses. Reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
When all is said and done, we may have to conclude that the Iowa caucuses are important only because an informal consensus among politicians and the media concludes that they ought to be. It's not altogether clear what else we can point to. Winning in Iowa does not produce especially useful information as to who will win the nomination. Tonight's vote in Iowa isn't even binding. It's just a straw poll. The delegates who were picked this evening won't themselves be going to the Republican convention in San Diego. They will pick another slate of delegates, who in turn will pick a third slate at a state convention in mid-June. Ultimately, only 25 Iowans will be among the 1,990 delegates who do pick the Republican nominee for president. And by then, they will be perceived as having very little clout indeed. But tonight, if only because their rejection of certain candidates will begin the process of narrowing down the field, tonight, Iowa counts. It is difficult to imagine ABC News covering a major political event without David Brinkley, so we won't even imagine it. David will join us a little later on. Heading up ABC's political coverage, as he always does, Peter Jennings joins me now live from Des Moines. So for whatever it's worth, Peter, how did it shake down in Iowa?
Well, I was just listening to everything you said about the delegates, and everything is true, but Iowa, of course, is all about perceptions, Ted. It is perception, perception, perception that counts here tonight. This is the first half of the double header. Nobody has gone out of Iowa before not being in the top three and has gone on to win the presidential nomination. And when we look at the raw vote tonight, the turnout as it occurred, you get a pretty good impression of why it has been a fairly exciting and reasonably dramatic evening. As you look at Bob Dole's 26%, take note of what Mark Halperin, one of our political analysts, said here when he was monitoring the Associated Press. The first AP lead this evening said a clear-cut win for Bob Dole. The second one said Bob Dole won, sharing the spotlight with Lamar Alexander. Look at Alexander in third place. And then the third lead said Bob Dole scores a shaky victory. In fact, Bob Dole got 26% of the vote. We've now got 97% of the Iowa caucuses reporting. Buchanan, 23%. The turnout, if you look at the turnout thing here, you will see that the turnout was infinitely lower than people had anticipated. Brian Kennedy, who is the Republican state chairman here, pointed out before the vote today that a low turnout would favor Buchanan, and he believes that this low turnout, 98,000 people, 135,000 anticipated, was the result of negative campaigning here, turned people off rather than on, and Buchanan benefited from that. Now, Senator Dole has been in and out of his broadcast commitments all day, saying first he would appear, then saying he would not appear. But a short while ago, as he left his headquarters to go back to his hotel, ABC's John Cochran was waiting for him.
Thanks. All right, here we are.
Is it you and Buchanan now?
I don't know. Could be.
Think it's going to be a two-man race in New Hampshire?
Here we go. I think it'll do pretty well there. I think we'll do pretty well there. I don't know what will happen to, Graham and Lugar and Forbes.
Are you surprised Forbes did so poorly?
Well, I never thought he'd be as strong in a caucus stage because, in addition to name recognition, you got to get up and get the people organized. So I think he's probably right in saying he might do a little better in New Hampshire, but with such a poor showing here, it's going to be uphill.
Are you surprised Buchanan did so well?
Yeah, a little bit, but he thought of it. I got a little bump out of Louisiana. But we're surprised. I said 28%. We got 27%.
Do you have to move to the right now with Buchanan to be more socially conservative, economically conservative? Do you have to run to the right?
I think I just stay where I am. Mainstream conservative, Bob Dole, get things done, rein in the government, do these things we've talked about, more power back to the states. And Pat will be where Pat is.
No negative,
Thank you very much,
no
Senator.
negative campaigning?
Well, I haven't done any, very little so far, but
Thank you, sir.
don't know how much money.
Do you think this Iowa showed that negative campaigns don't work?
I hope so.
Well, a couple of things there aren't precise or absolutely precise. Senator Dole has indulged in some negative campaigning, as certainly most political professionals know. As for where he set the bar during World News Tonight earlier this evening, he said he set it at 30%, then he lowered it to 28, and then he lowered it to 26, which is, in fact, what he got. And as we said, to repeat, negative campaigning here deemed, as Lynn Sherr is going to tell us when we get to our exit polls in toto, may have had a serious impact here. How did people vote? Why did they vote the way they did, and how did we get a handle on that? In the Iowa caucus, people actually participated in entrance polls. They told us on their way into the many caucuses all across the state who they intended to vote for and many of the reasons. And Lynn Sherr, as she does in every political year, monitors that for us. Lynn?
Well, Peter, the key tonight is clearly the issues. Iowa voters told us exactly what mattered most to them, and the men they thought best able to tend to those concerns came out very well. We asked which issue was most important in choosing a candidate. Number one from more than a third of the voters was conservative values. And Pat Buchanan won a very large 43% of that vote. The next two finishers were Phil Gramm and Alan Keyes. The second most important issue cited by voters tonight was the candidate's ability to beat Bill Clinton. Of the Iowans to whom that mattered most, nearly half voted for Lamar Alexander. Bob Dole was far behind, and Pat Buchanan got only 7%. The issue that ranked third with voters was experience in Washington. And as you might expect, Bob Dole won an overwhelming 80% of their vote. But that was not enough to give him the overwhelming victory that he really wanted. And that's partly because nearly a quarter of the caucus goers we questioned said they decided on a candidate within the last 3 days. And nearly a third of them voted for Lamar Alexander. Pat Buchanan picked up nearly a quarter of the late support. Bob Dole considerably less. In fact, Alexander and Buchanan dug deep into the Dole electorate. Some 48% of the voters said that they had decided on Dole early on. Tonight, he got just over half of that. Peter?
Lynn, thanks very much. Just want to carry that interpretation of Alexander just a touch further, because in his campaign rallies here, there's always three blocks on the stage. One says ABC. It means Alexander beats Clinton. And when asked who beats Bill Clinton, he does West. As for late deciders, Alexander probably did very well here in the final days by managing to convince people that he had not participated in the negative campaign to which so many Iowans had taken exception. At any rate, a short while ago, we talked to the governor here in Des Moines. And you know as well as I do that the Iowa dictum is organize, 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 and finish hot. You did quite well tonight. Why?
Well, we finished hot. I think a couple of things. I think Iowans really were turned off by the negative advertising, and I think they were looking for new leadership. And I think both those things in the last few days made a big difference for me.
If they were looking for new leadership, they voted more for Pat Buchanan than they did for you. What's that tell us?
Well, everyone knows Pat, and I congratulate him for his good start, and Senator Dole as well. But I'm new on the scene. I started at 0, and I've done much, much better than anyone might have expected. And as you look at Senator Dole and Pat Buchanan and me and think about who can stand up there with Bill Clinton in October and who can present a conservative vision of the future that'll attract a majority of Americans, I think I have a very good chance now to be nominated.
On the other hand, you did campaign in Iowa for 80 days, longer than anybody except Keyes. Shouldn't you have done as well or even better?
Well, I hope so. I hope that what this campaign said was yes to grassroots campaigning and no to negative mudslinging. I mean, if it weren't for the Iowa caucus and the New Hampshire primary, someone like me could never run for president. They'd all be zillionaires or Washington senators. So this is my opportunity to be on stage and present my message about less from Washington and more from us, and I'm delighted to have that opportunity.
Now, you're going to be like everybody else, get on a plane and rush up to New Hampshire tonight to try to take advantage of this finish. You've talked a lot about negatives ads. Would you like to start the ball rolling with a pledge never to use them?
I don't plan, Peter, I plan to start in New Hampshire with the same sort of positive campaign that I had in Iowa. I spent about $800,000 on television here, and Mr. Forbes must have spent $4 million. I'm going to start that way. I'd like for every candidate to do that. We need a vision contest in order to beat Bill Clinton. And I hope that I can stay on that high road all the way through to the end.
But it's not quite a pledge, in other words.
No, it's not quite a pledge. I'm in this to win, but I believe what Americans are looking for and what Republicans are looking for is some Republican who could really be a president, someone who can paint a picture of the future. We had Bill Clinton in Iowa this weekend. He reminded us that his medicine show, when it goes on the road, is a pretty good show. And we'd better be careful about who we nominate in New Hampshire in the next 3 weeks. I think that's why I got such a good vote tonight and why I came up so rapidly the last few days.
Was it exciting to watch those numbers come in tonight, or was it nerve-wracking?
No, it was exciting. I've been here 80 days. My wife, Honey's been here 75. We're delighted. I owe a great big thank you for Iowa for giving me an opportunity to take this campaign across the country, and I'm going to take full advantage of it.
Thank you very much. Governor Lamar Alexander, Tennessee, off to New Hampshire.
Thank you, Peter.
Ted, for all that talk about Mr. Forbes being a zillionaire, Lamar Alexander has one of the best fundraising teams in the entire country. Back to you.
Well, speaking of Mr. Forbes, I'll be talking to him when we come back.
This is ABC News Nightline, brought to you by MCI.
And they all lived happily ever after. Okay? One more? And Jack, you went up, the beanstalk. Oh, what big eyes you have. And then the mama bear says, somebody's been eating my part. No, I don't know who. You have to wait till the end of the story.
With MCI's friends and family, you save on every call to everyone.
All the better to see you with.
So you can talk a little longer.
No, I don't know how they lived in the shoe. It's a size 90. It's a big shoe.
MCI's friends and family. Real savings, real simple.
No, this is the last one. I'm serious.
Let me guess. One side of you craves easy chair comfort, while the other side itches for performance, right? Well, meet Buick Regal with its famous 3800 V6 engine and Grand Touring suspension. Add to that an all-new interior with body-sensitive seats. And finally, there's a car for the two of you. Buick Regal.
Tomorrow, trying to start a bowling team? Cash prizes to attend the PTA? Where is everybody? Watch and you'll understand on ABC's World News tonight.
Technology has taken you to new levels, but nothing will take you farther than the technology in the new Jeep Grand Cherokee Laredo. Loaded with major advancements like new styling, new safety features, and new capabilities. And now you can lease a Grand Cherokee Laredo for just $349 a month. So, with all this new technology, where do you go from here? Anywhere you want.
See your local Jeep and Eagle dealer.
Throughout a crisis situation like this one, our guarantee is we're just going to ride it out with you. We're going to be everywhere we possibly can be, giving you as much information as we possibly can to get you through it, and us too. I think one of the things television news is really good at is sending cameras to specific locations and telling you almost immediately what's going on. The perspective is let's present the broad picture as we go to these isolated pocket problems and show people as much and give them as much as we can. We're always going to do it.
The runner-up in tonight's Republican contest can claim a victory of his own. A little earlier this evening, Pat Buchanan addressed his supporters in Des Moines.
I have heard that, I don't know, the tale may be apocryphal, that President Clinton said today that Pat Buchanan's the one I want to run against. Well, Mr. President, you're the fella I want to run against, sir, and we're going to... This is a victory for a cause that is larger than all of us, my friends. This is a victory for a new idea. This is a victory for a new idea in the Republican Party and in national politics. A new, spirited conservatism of the heart. By that, I mean conservatives who will bravely stand up and speak out forever for the right to life of the innocent unborn, and we will never apologize for those beliefs.
Pat Buchanan joining me now live from Des Moines. Steve Forbes. Mr. Forbes, handicap the field for me now. How does it look going into New Hampshire?
Well, we're in good shape. Iowa was always our biggest hurdle. We had no organization when we began 18 weeks ago. We made a credible showing from the very beginning. We've had a 4-3-2-1 strategy, finish in the top 4 in Iowa, top 3 in New Hampshire, top 2 in Delaware, and then win Arizona. We did set the agenda. It is an agenda of growth, opportunity, of getting America moving again. The flat tax, I think, is going to appeal to the people of New Hampshire. So I think we're going to continue to make progress because the American people do want to turn these problems into opportunities.
Well, you got the flat tax in early tonight, Mr. Forbes, but what I was asking you to do was handicap the rest of the field for me. What do you think Iowa has done to the Dole campaign? What do you think it has done for the Buchanan campaign? Mr. Graham appears to be out of it, right?
Well, what it has done is shown that the Pat Robertson forces of '88 came out for Pat Buchanan in 1996, but they weren't able to sustain that after Iowa. It's a broad-based party we have. Also, too, Senator Dole showed that it's still a very fluid situation. And going against Lamar Alexander, I look forward to debating him on specific issues, especially on reforming the tax code. So I think we're in good shape. I think we've got a 4-person field, and I think after New Hampshire it'll be 3, and I think we're going to win in Arizona and then win the nomination.
When you say after New Hampshire you think it'll be 3, you mean you, Dole, and Alexander?
I'm not predicting the others. I know enough about politics not to make predictions about other people's campaigns. I'm concentrating on my campaign, honing my message, getting across the fact that we can revive and restore the American dream. I think that's why we're going to use Iowa as a building block for New Hampshire. Same thing with New Hampshire and Delaware, and then we're going to win in Arizona.
Mr. Forbes, I'm not obviously stating anything new when I say the one thing you've got that the other candidates would love to have is almost an unlimited supply of money, so you can, if you choose to, keep going. But if you had a couple of disappointing finishes, let's say in New Hampshire next week and beyond, at which point do you pull out?
Well, when the voters say to pull out. But as I say, we knew Iowa was a caucus state, heavily organized state. We got off to a late start there. We made a credible showing. We finished within our projections of the top 4. And we hope to do better in New Hampshire. I think we will, because it is a primary state. We do have a growth message. We do have a message of getting America moving. And so I think we're going to continue to make progress right up to Arizona.
We're down to our last few seconds, Mr. Forbes. I guess that's what I was asking you. You've set the bar for yourself at coming in no lower than 3rd in New Hampshire. Would that be the message if the voters of New Hampshire tell you by voting you in 4th or even 5th? Would that be enough to discourage you?
Well, I'm not going to make specific predictions. I remember Ronald Reagan in 1976 lost the first several primaries, but came within an ace of winning the nomination. So I'm not going to make predictions. I do predict that as people learn more about our growth message, we're going to continue to make progress, and that's why I'm very, very optimistic.
Mr. Forbes, I know it's been a long day for you. I appreciate very much you staying up so late. Thank you.
Thank you.
When we come back, Peter Jennings and Jeff Greenfield on why the people of Iowa went the way they did today.
I'm kind of torn between right now. I think probably between Buchanan and Dole.
I'm going to vote for Pat Buchanan because I believe that he's got conservative Christian views.
Lamar Alexander. I like the campaign he's run. I agree with a lot of the issues that he's talking about.
Bob Dole, and I just feel Bob
is more in tune with the way I feel about certain things, moral issues primarily.
I admire Dole, and I like him, and I respect him, and he's a war hero, and I think he would, I think he's a great senator, but I'm not sure I want him for president.
When it comes to tough hand tools, we're making a name for ourselves because they're made with a full lifetime warranty. That's Ace, the name to know for hand tools.
Introducing the new full-time four-wheel drive Lexus LX 450. It's everything a Lexus is, and everything a Lexus isn't.
There's only one denture cleanser with Listerine ingredients, Efferdent Plus, to fight denture odor. It kills 99.9% of the germs that cause denture odor, so you can get this close. Efferdent Plus, kill the germs, kill the odor.
Next time, the morning after the Iowa caucuses. Plus, science explains what really happens when you fall in love.
Good morning, America.
Here on ABC.
Imperial Tombs of China. Fascinating treasures from China's most powerful ancient rulers. Beginning May 1st, the only place on the West Coast to see this special exhibit is the Portland Art Museum. It's a chance of a lifetime. Buy your tickets now.
I've never seen anything quite like this. And when you go down the Willamette River, you see the river rising to the top. You see your neighbors' homes being flooded out, and it truly, truly hits home. And you think, boy, it can happen to them. It can certainly happen to me. We want to see it from beginning to the end. We want to make sure these people get out of this mess, and we honestly do care about them and hope they make it out, and hope they make it out safely.
KATU's Spirit 2 needs help in answering our 2 on Your Side consumer hotline. If you're familiar with consumer-related issues and have some phone experience, come volunteer in the spirit of the Northwest. Call 231-4207.
The Great Flood of '96 has displaced thousands of people. In the spirit of the Northwest, if you need assistance such as food, shelter, and supplies, call the numbers on your screen. People helping people. That's what the spirit of the Northwest is all about. For the latest flood information, keep it here on Spirit 2.
This ABC News Nightline special, the 96 vote, continues. Once again, reporting from Washington, Ted Koppel.
And joining me live once again from Iowa, Peter Jennings. I sometimes wonder, Peter, why we ever expect to get an honest answer when someone who comes in a little lower than anticipated is asked about it.
Yeah, well, this setting of the bar and the spinning of the next day, there's a restaurant here in Des Moines where most of the local and the national press has been gathered for the last few days, Ted, and you can almost feel the sort of machination of the way the headlines are going to look the next day. A participant in all of this analysis, of course, our own ABC's Jeff Greenfield, who has spent today down at what we call Cyberspace Central, I think it is, the Armory, the Stark Armory just outside Des Moines, where Jeff has been looking on all those screens, Jeff, at all the caucuses all across the state. That's fascinating.
It has been fascinating, Peter. You know, all night we've been talking about the big picture, projections, percentages, perceptions, expectations. But here at what they call the Fiber Caucus, we've been looking at some 32 caucuses the way they were meant to be seen, as individual men and women who've gathered with their friends and neighbors in high schools and community colleges and armories all across the state. We wanted to show you some of what they said with their voices and with their votes.
I am supporting Patrick Buchanan because he, to me, is another Abraham Lincoln. He is fearless.
From Indianola, a community south of Des Moines, that plea for Pat Buchanan, and this plea for Steve Forbes.
I think one of the major things that causes me to feel very strongly about Steve Forbes is the fact that there are a lot of young people that have a future at stake.
Reverend Pat Robertson came in first here 8 years ago.
This time, Dole placed first, Steve Forbes second. From Jefferson in Greene County, home of George Gallup, father of modern political polling, a plea for Lamar Alexander.
His message is what we need for our country, personal responsibility.
The plea may have worked. Jefferson went big for Robertson in 1988. This year, Alexander finished first, Buchanan second, Bob Dole third. From Hampton, the case for Bob Dole, along with the sly dig at the media.
Bob Dole is an honest, honorable man, and he has loads of experience behind him. If you've doubted him because of anything you've heard on TV, remember from whence it came and for what purpose it was, and don't let that purpose defeat him.
But if you're looking for a symbol for what happened in Iowa tonight, look at Carroll, a community in western Iowa where Bob Dole won a huge victory 8 years ago.
Pat Buchanan's star is rising.
But this year, according to one of Dole's key supporters, many caucus participants thought that Dole was just too old. And with Phil Graham's campaign collapsing and Buchanan drawing new caucus participants with his strong anti-abortion stand, Buchanan won a smashing victory here.
So the combined then for the entire Carroll district, Buchanan wins with 90, Dole has 41, Alexander is 35.
Peter, one thought from all these caucuses, that sound you're hearing is the sound of several prominent Republicans kicking themselves around the room for not entering this presidential race.
I have a thought for you, Jeff. They say about Iowa that it's too small, too few people making too big a choice, too white, too old in some cases, religious conservatives having undue influence. But as you've watched all that tonight, do you share the view of other reporters that people take this civic duty pretty seriously?
There is no question that while all those objections, I think, have a lot of validity, what saves this caucus from complete attack on the outside is the fact that Iowans are unique. One thing they did tonight, they did say two things. One, that they were turned off by the negative campaign because they turned out in low numbers. And second, they said to a very rich person, you got to do more than buy a lot of TV ads here in Iowa.
Great, Jeff. Thanks very much. Had a great week with you. Go back to Ted Koppel in Washington now. Ted?
Peter, thanks very much. The lights are already beginning to dim. That is on the quadrennial spotlight that is being cast on Iowa. And starting tomorrow morning, people will be looking even more closely at New Hampshire, as will we when we come back, when I'll be joined by Cokie Roberts.
You know, there's thousands of kinds of cars and trucks out there, and one place has top brand tires for virtually all of them, Sears. And right now, you'll get great savings on selected Michelin, Pirelli, Trail Handler, and Goodyear tires for just about any wheels. From now until February 24th. So whatever you're driving out there, drive it in here. Sears Auto Center.
There's great news for really dry skin.
I've discovered an amazing new moisturizer, Jergens Shower Active. It isn't a lotion. It's not a soap.
So what is it?
It's a dramatically different moisturizer. I use it in the shower after I wash, and then I rinse. It's very easy. We like this. It seals in the moisture from the shower. That's when my skin's moist. So that makes sense, right? It lasts all day.
All day?
24 hours.
So how's your dry skin now?
What dry skin?
New Jergens Shower Active Moisturizer. Another beautiful idea from today's Jergens.
At Ford Motor Company, we're experimenting with a backing up warning system, which sounds a signal to help you avoid hitting what you can't even see. Sometimes you just have to go backwards to go forward. Ford, quality is job one.
Enjoy soup and pasta this way or the Progresso way. Progresso Pasta Soup. Soup and pasta is what makes hearty pasta soup.
In 8 days, it begins. A new world of younger-looking skin with Lancome's visibly revitalizing solution, Primordial. Pure vitamin E, a gentle hydroxy acid, and a patented nanocapsule technology now make it possible. Younger-looking skin than you ever thought possible. Primordial. The new world of skincare. Lancôme Paris. Beauté à la mode, your choice gift by Color Family with a $17.50 Lancôme purchase. Now at Meyer and Frank.
Listen, that's the sound of hair that's damaged from perming, coloring, and blow drying. That's why you need Alberto VO5 Hot Oil. It makes your hair stronger every time you use it. VO5 is so different you use it before you shampoo. So intense it bonds to the weak sites of every strand, actually making your hair 55% stronger. So strengthen your hair with VO5 Hot Oil once a week, every week, because hair should be seen and not heard.